Hello there. Welcome to Just the Discs. We talk about Blu-rays here. My name's Brian, and for this episode, I am talking about a new label, which, if you're an avid follower of physical media and boutique labels, you definitely already know about them, but this is my first sort of official coverage from one of their releases. And that release is Big Time Gambling Boss, and the label is, of course, Radiance Films. Now, Radiance Films was founded by Fran Simeone, who was a longtime gentleman over at Arrow Video and did a lot of great work for them there. And if this is an indication of what's to come, I'm very, very excited about what Radiance is doing, because this is basically my first exposure to the curation of the label, and I was very impressed. I'll lead with that. Big Time Gambling Boss is a film from 1968. It is directed by Kosaku Yamashita, and it stars Koji Surata and Tomosabu Wakayama, who you will definitely know from the Lone Wolf and Cub series, which he would do later after this, but he's great in this. And so Surata and Wakayama are brothers, sworn brothers. They're not blood brothers, as part of this Yakuza clan. This is a Yakuza film, and that was obviously a big movement in Japan, and they made a ton of these. And this one is part of a specific, movement, if you will, within that series or that genre. And it's sort of they focus on sort of brotherhood, duty, and honor, chivalry as part of this movement of Yakuza films. And this one in particular is about a clan, a Yakuza clan in Tokyo in 1934, and one of their head boss goes to meet with some other clan bosses, and they're proposing bringing drugs and other things into the business, and he is against that, and he turns his back on this other boss, and as he's leaving the meeting, he has a stroke and collapses. And so he is not going to make it, and he has to be replaced. So the clan has to decide how to choose and who to choose as his successor. And it falls to Nakai, and that is, again, the Koji Tsururata character. And Nakai sort of has to refuse the nomination because he is not originally from this clan. He's from a neighboring area, Osaka, and he doesn't feel pure enough to take over, but he recommends that the next in line, this other clansman, Matsuda, and that's Wakayama's character, the guy from Lone Wolf and Cub, that he should take it, but they're like, well, he's in jail for 5 years, and he's still got a couple years left. We need to fix this now. And he's just like, well, I'm really going to have to insist that you wait for him. And the clan decides to choose this other guy who is the son-in-law of the actual current boss. And even despite his reservations, they choose him anyway. And it becomes clear later in the movie, like, why that's happened. And I don't want to get too far down that rabbit hole, but it becomes a thing when Matsuda returns from prison and is like, well, why did this happen? Why did they choose the son-in-law and not you? And he's like, well, I declined it because of this. And And he's like, well, I just can't accept that. And it becomes this whole thing of like Matsuda causing drama within the clan because he doesn't like this newly elected boss. And it is mesmerizing to me. It is, it sort of hit all the notes of the kind of reserved sort of drama that I love from somebody like Ozu, but it also has this great tension and bursts of violence several times throughout the film that are really shocking, especially in the context of a lot of people sitting around talking to each other, and the biggest drama is somebody decides to say something they shouldn't say, or to challenge someone they shouldn't challenge. And you're just like, oh no, it's worse. It's this incredible dramatic, moment that you just, once you settle into the vibe of the movie and these little dialogue scenes play out, you just become so invested, or at least I did. And it's one of my favorite discoveries of 2023 so far. I really, really loved it. And like I said, I just got totally sucked into it by the end. And it really is a special movie. And as I said, since it's my first exposure to Radiance, color me very impressed and looking forward to anything and everything else that they're doing. Now, I'll go through the features in a second, but there's a lot of stuff coming from Radiance Films in the next year, and some of it is both UK and US, but the majority of the stuff is going to be UK stuff, and some of the UK stuff you can get has already had stateside releases, but these will be better, very clearly. A couple examples I can think of off the top of my head are Welcome to the Dollhouse and Miami Blues. Both of these have had stateside Blu-ray releases here in the US, but the Radiance releases definitely look to be a step up from those. And those are just kind of the part of what you're getting. There's just a ton more curation. One of the things I'm really excited about is an upcoming box set, the Cosa Nostra, Franco Nero, and Three Mafia Tales by Damiano Damiani Blu-ray set. Now, this is going to be both available in the States and in the UK. It includes Day of the Owl, The Case is Closed, Forget It, and How to Kill a Judge. So that's a really cool box set coming from Radiance. I think their first box set in May of this year. But anyway, we can go into a little bit more of their stuff as I close out. But let's talk about the features on this Blu-ray, which, again, I totally dug. So you have this is, of course, the Blu-ray debut of this film. It's 235-1. The transfer looks very nice. And you have basically two visual essays as the features here. And I'll talk about both of those. The first is called Ninkyo 101. It's a 15-minute video essay by Mark Schilling, who is the author of the Yakuza movie book. And he delves into the history and the impact of the classical style of the Yakuza genre, the Ninkyo Aiga, or the chivalry films. That was what I was referring to before about what big-time gambling boss falls into, is this kind of Yakuza film, the chivalry films. And he opens by saying, welcome to the Yakuza movie masterclass. And I would say it is that, in a compact 15 minutes. It's a great overview of the genre, the industry, the studios involved, as well as a look at the Yakuza itself and its structures at the very top of the piece. And there are lots of films recommended here with highlighted filmmakers including Akira Kurosawa, Seijun Suzuki, Kinji Fukasaku, Takeshi Miike, Takeshi Kitano, and many more. And so you get, like, what I love about these kind of things, you get a lot of recommendations for other films out of these visual essays, as well as being educated about the genre and why some of these films are key to that genre, and why some of these films are key to the successes of the directors that that they're talking about here. So that's a really nice visual essay. And the second one and the final feature here is called Serial Gambling, and it's 25 minutes, and it's a video essay by Chris D., who is author of Gun and the Sword, an Encyclopedia of Japanese Gangster Films, 1955 to 1980. And he talks about big-time gambling bosses' origins in the Toei Studios, serialized Yakuza movie production, and what sort of sets it apart from those films. And this is apparently the fourth entry in a series of 10 films produced by Toei Studios, part of their Gambling Den films. And Chris lays out the trends and the norms for the Toei films of this period, including the series they were working on, the regular cast members and the directors, and just, again, gives a really nice overview of the film, kind of sums up some of the plotting stuff that you see in the movie. It's recommended that you watch the movie before you watch this essay, but it did give me further insights into like how special this film is and where it lies in the oeuvre of Toei films and this genre in general. So I totally dug it. Between these 40 minutes of visual essays, you get a really nice look at the Yakuza genre and Toei Studios and everything like that. So really, really solid stuff in terms of the features. Great start. And then on top of that, we have a booklet, but it's a nice thick one, so it's more of a book. And then, of course, we have the disc and the reversible artwork. But so this booklet is also a nice indication of what we have to come. Table of contents include sort of a cast and crew rundown, and then 2 essays, one by Stuart Galbraith the fourth, and another one by Haley Scanlon. And these are both new essays. So just as an example, here's the Stuart Galbraith Shogun's Reign essay. And I'll just read you a little bit of it. Big-time gambling boss, also variously known as big-time gambling ceremony and presidential gambling, is widely regarded as the pinnacle of the Ninkyo Eiga chivalry gangster pictures, generally set during the years prior to the Second World War, and yet its director, Kusaka Yamashita, remains highly unknown in the West, in stark contrast to, say, Kinji Fukasaku's Battles Without Honor and Humanity, which Yamashita claimed to have not seen when it was new, and other such Jitsuroku Eiga, the actual record films. The performances in Big Time Gambling Boss are greatly understated in contrast to the flamboyantly theatrical, exaggerated style so common to the Yakuza genre. I think that's one of the things I appreciated about the film, is how understated the performances are, and yet there are these outbursts, which the understated performances then allow to play much more dramatically and not feel over the top, really. They feel just like, emotions bubbling over in that sense. Stars Koji Tsururata and Tamisa Buro Wakayama were never better. The palpable tension between them is as intense as anything found in the Ninkyo Eiga, yet almost all of this tension is repressed, bubbling uncomfortably just below the surface. Indeed, the plot hinges on Tsururata containing Wakayama from lashing out, a task as futile as trying to prevent the eruption of Japan's more active volcanoes. That's a great start to a really nice essay, and both of the essays are very good in this book that's included with the disc. So that's just sort of an overview of this movie and this wonderful new disc from this excellent new label, Radiance Films. And so I hope to be talking about more of their films and their releases in the near future. But I got to say, it's off to a really promising start, and my congratulations to Fran and to the Radiance team for doing a great job with the first release that I've been exposed to. It's always wonderful to see a new boutique label announced, but you never really know what you're going to get until you dig in, and I was more than pleased with Big Time Gambling Boss. So a high thumbs up and recommendation for me for this one. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.